Good evening everyone. Welcome to the GroupProject presentation, and our topic is on software automation pros and consequences. So I'm going to talk about the organizational side of software automation. So how does poor software quality affects overall software? It increases labor cost and lower down the morale of your team. If you have your product out there in the market and if it is not performing well, your team's morale is no longer there, because they are solving same issues, resolving same bugs every time. Your development team is no longer doing more development or releasing new features. Adverse impact on brand and reputation. The brand always depend on your product consistency, your product quality, and if customers are having problem with your product, obviously your brand value will get reduced. Market opportunities. So if you are trying to delay your release of the product in the market, you will lose that early advantage of the customer purchase, because there are many companies in the market which have same software, same features, and they also provide better rates. Even if you try to release the product early to gain that advantage, you might compromise on software quality. Team's confidence decreases as software quality issues increase. So it all goes hand in hand. If you are dealing with customer data, you make sure you follow all the compliance and the standards, because you have to pay penalties for all the violation, and it depends on what kind of severity of the standard is. Delayed purchase and customer dissatisfaction. If the customers are not satisfied with the software quality, they might delay the purchase, or worst case would be they won't buy it at all. So what can we do to improve it? You can always automate some part of your software depending on how much percentage of manual testing is being done. What benefits do we have if we automate? Obviously, when you have automation, you can save time on testing, because the tool does it all for you. You can leave the tool unattended because it will execute all your test cases sequentially, or however the way you have configured it. When something is unattended, you save a lot of cost, because you don't have your tester sitting down and monitoring those test cases. So you save your time, resources, and as well as cost for the company. Extensive coverage. Manual testing does not cover all your software, because it has certain limitation of resources. It might be a knowledge, it might be skill, or it might be design issues. So software automation tries to solve this. They have better coverage over software, and more the coverage, more bug fixing, more defects can be found, and it can be released at an early stage before you release the product. Software automation tools can be configurable and repeatable. It helps you to prove that your software is consistent over the period of time. It is showing the same behavior and all the functionality are working the same. You could reuse all those script on a tablet or a mobile or a mobile phone or a website, so you could have multiple approaches. Leverage resources capabilities. So when you save time of your manual tester, you could use that time to share knowledge, design more test cases, and the entire creativity of your team improves. Regulatory compliances. Software automation tool provides you a report which can help you to analyze if you are following all the industry standards. So before you automate, let's ask few questions. How early can I automate? The more early you start automating it, you will have defects at the early stage rather than the later stage, which are expensive to resolve. You don't need to be a programmer. There are certain tools which can be configured via clicks. There are certain tools which can be configured via scripts. So depending on your tool, you need to make this decision. Would I able to reuse? Yes, definitely. You could use all the test cases in multiple way and multiple approaches. How much can you automate? Usually we should try to automate 50% of the software, but we end up automating even 20-25%. That's good. That's all from me. I'll hand it over to Baswati. Thank you.
Thanks, Harshal. This is Bhashwati Laha, and I'm going to continue talking about test automation and the areas where it's useful to use test automation. So first of all, what is test automation? Test automation automates testing using certain kinds of automation tools where you can use tools to automatically run the tests. There are three main steps involved when an organization decides to use automation for their test team. The first step is finding the right kind of tool for the kind of tests that you need to run. Second one is creating the test automation framework that will support test automation in the long run. And the third one is writing the scripts that will mimic the kind of tests that you are going to run using automation. So there are three different test areas where automation can be used. First one is in unit tests, where tests are written at the code level, and these are automatically run during compile time. The most popular tools for this area are JUnit and NUnit. The second area where automation is used commonly is integration testing, where interface between two software application is tested. The most common tool here is SOAP UI. And the third area where automation is used is the user interface test. This is a very popular area for automation because user interface in these cases can be easily mimicked using automation tools, and the common tools in this cases is Selenium and Cucumber. So when is automation a good idea? So there are certain kinds of tests where automation is a good idea. The first one is in regression testing, where the same tests are run again after a new change is introduced to the software, and you are testing a pre-existing condition. Second one is in smoke testing, where health of a build is tested quickly by running some automated tests. Third one is in static and repetitive testing, for instance, where you are trying to test certain functionalities in different kinds of web browsers. Fourth one is data-driven tests. It's basically user interface tests where you are using different variety of data. For instance, for login scripts where you use different kinds of login and password combination. The fourth area is load and performance test. This is the area where there is no manual alternative, and automation is a great area for this. So there are three myths about automation. The first one is that automation is here to replace manual testing. This is not true, because we can use a car analogy, automation being like driving a car, and manual testing is like walking. So even though a car can take you to one place to another much faster, it cannot really take you to the final destination. You still have to park your car and walk to the room where you need to be. Second myth is that automated testing is entirely tool-based. This is not true. Human being still needs to write test scripts that need to be run by the tool. And the third one is that every application development project can be automated. Again, we can use a car analogy. So there will be some rough terrains where it's wiser to walk than use a car. So the bottom line is that even though automation is great to be used in certain areas, there will always be some complex test cases where it's much wiser to use the manual testing. So that concludes my presentation. I hand it over to the next presenters, Yash and Steve, and they will talk about the challenges of using automation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaswati and Arshal, for sharing us with the pros of using automation testing. But as a coin has two sides, automation testing has its challenges as well. So what are these challenges? Let's go through the challenges one by one. First, it requires a lot of time to develop these test cases. As we all know that there are five life cycles in a testing cycle. Each cycle has its own testing method, and since we are using automation testing for each cycle needs to have its own test cases, which requires a lot of time. Second, automation testing. Whenever we do an automation testing, the team members should have knowledge of programming. Like for example, if you are doing testing a software or a code which is built in C#, the testing team needs to have a small kind of knowledge of how the C# works, so that it would be easy for them to develop test cases. Third is increasing tooling needs. As we all know that automation testing is not free. We have to buy or download some softwares from the internet. Like for example, Selenium is free, but it does not have all the features. In other case, Ranorex is not free, but it has most of the features which are not present in Selenium. That's why we need to buy these. Either we need to buy Ranorex to test our system. Complex analysis is required. Whenever a test case fails, a tester is expected to have some knowledge of doing analysis. Like for example, he should be able to detect where the test case failed, why it failed. Is it the network connection, or is it his own fault that he has used some other method for testing? Fifth is additional deployment cost. As the system grows from unit test to integration test to system test, the requirements to develop or find bugs increase, and since the system starts going towards the perfection, the deployment costs also increase. Not many bugs are found. That's because test cases that are developed in unit test, that the system is run on that cases as well only. So no new test cases are developed at each level, which makes the bugs found to be low. Tools can be expensive. Like I shared before, Ranorex is an automation testing tool which is highly priced. It costs around $3,000 to buy for a particular user. So let's say if you have 10 testers, in order to buy Ranorex, it will be spending around $30,000 just for Ranorex tool, which is kind of expensive. Last is the tools have limitations. The automation testing tools cannot detect any missing image or any change in fonts in a web page, which does not look good or which does not satisfy the criteria for testing the system. More cons will be discussed by Steve in his next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Yash, for introducing the challenges for automated testing. Hello, I'm Steve Griffith, and I will continue with presenting additional challenges for automated testing and when manual testing can be justified as the primary means of testing. Additional challenges of automated testing cover several other aspects that preclude automation in the test environment beyond those previously mentioned, having to do with initial time and cost investments. At the highest level, we can accurately state that not all software projects can be fully automated. This concept parallels the paradigm that exhaustive software testing is impossible. While web-based applications such as websites for banking and finance, healthcare, insurance, mobility, and online purchasing are mostly automated, there are industry sectors where automated software testing is not beneficial. In my experience as a career software tester, manual testing is the primary mode of execution for real-time, multi-processor embedded code projects. Think large platforms having many different interfaces and software modules interacting simultaneously, running tens of millions of lines of code. A prime example of this is complex telecom optical switching products. While some of the lesser complex or repetitive testing such as unit and regression testing can be automated, the bulk of testing is extremely costly to automate and ensure the product operation is as specified. New feature testing, with the exception of these web-based applications, in this type of environment is also difficult and costly to automate to achieve acceptable ROI for the effort expended. I've received corroborative information through interviews and research that supports this concept. Some companies will successfully automate frameworks, still manually test new features, especially where there are several features introduced to a product and must interact flawlessly. Usability testing is another area that benefits from manual testing given the subjective nature of usability testing. The goal of usability testing is being able to identify areas where users struggle with the products and make improvements to the design. Automated testing is not best suited for this type of environment. Gaming application testing could be considered a kind of usability testing effort too, and as such it would be tested in a manual environment. And there's look and feel testing of web-based applications, and it tends to be more targeted to manual testing similar to usability testing. And then we have exploratory testing, which is most effective in a manual testing environment. I've read some recent cases attempting to justify the automation of exploratory testing, but these scenarios are not common in the current world of testing. Exploratory testing is deeply dependent on the knowledge and experience of a skilled tester. Exploratory testing encourages the tester to be creative during the test execution and explore beyond the written test cases or scripts. Some of the more complex bugs are identified as a result of this. In many cases, manual testing is more flexible during execution, as described in the above section about exploratory testing. Human intuition and the unpredictable behavior of the tester is the greatest asset of manual testing. I kind of like to reference in as the tester's going through the test, they get this little light bulb flash on. It says, well, I wonder what will happen if I do this. That's a machine can't do that. As a career tester, I often stated that software testing is one of the few jobs where an employee can make mistakes in performing the job and still succeed through discovery of software defects. Company operations may be averse to automation based on several factors. Engineering teams may not be appropriately staffed to support automated testing. You need testers that are programmers for this. The company may lack budget to migrate from a manual to automated testing because there is some significant upfront cost to automation. And the company may be okay with staying in the manual testing environment. And that concludes the TeamBlue presentation. In summary, TeamBlue has presented valuable facts about software testing, the where and when automated testing and manual testing is most beneficial. Test organizations must perform the required analysis to determine which test solution best suits the test environment, and each mode of testing brings value to overall software testing, but neither mode is the be-all and end-all solution. On behalf of TeamBlue, I'd like to thank you for watching our presentation on software testing. We hope that you've gained some insight about our topic and can use this information as a starting point if you find the need to make a choice about software automation testing in the future. Thank you.